The Jaguars' director of sports performance, Chris Doyle, resigned late Friday night, just hours after the organization was criticized for the hire by the Fritz Pollard alliance. Doyle, you know the story. He was the former strength coach at Iowa. He was accused of making racist remarks and bullying players while he was there. The team released a statement in which they said Chris did not want to be a distraction to what we are building in Jacksonville, and we are responsible for all aspects of our program, and in retrospect should have given greater consideration to how his appointment may have affected all involved. And look, as we come out and talk, there's so many parts of this that are worthy of discussion, but in retrospect, we should have given greater consideration. Like, Kimberley, you and I talked about this in the meeting. I just can't understand how anyone missed this. It seems impossible to me that going into this hire, how could anyone have not looked at it and said, this is going to be a problem and we're going to deal with it this way? I find that startling. Kimberley, what is your take on the whole thing?
I know you're still stumped even after our meeting, and I really think it's not a matter of missing it. They were well aware of it. They didn't think it was that big a deal, or else you wouldn't hire him. Listen, Urban Meyer is going to do what Urban Meyer does. There's nothing about his career in college that tells you Urban Meyer is used to being checked on things. This is a guy whose judgment has been questioned in the past. And when they had the press conference and he was asked about Doyle, and his response, his explanation as to why you would hire this guy for an NFL position was, oh, we got this. Like, I've known him for 20 years. Like, we vet him. It's fine. And it's that sort of dismissive, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I know what I'm doing. That's why the reaction was so strong. And this is the NFL. You might be the head coach of the Jaguars, but whatever you do will be questioned, will be talked about. This isn't college where you're running everything.
That, I think, is a really important point. Let me bring that out. Mike T., you were making that point in our meeting this morning, that when you're a college coach, you have the expectation that you control absolutely everything. And when you come to the NFL, that isn't a realistic expectation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When Urban Meyer is in Columbus, Ohio, Gainesville, Florida, he's the czar of those cities. He can do whatever he wants. And what was apparent, he hired the wrong person. He could not have hired the coach he did, but nobody in the organization said anything to him. And Shad Khan, I'm sure, said to Urban Meyer, hey, this is your franchise. Just don't violate the U.S. Constitution. And you can't do that. So there's nobody in the building that will give any sort of sense of check and balance. This was a bad mistake. And it looks awful, and what's apparent to me is there's no one in the building that's going to tell Urban Meyer what he doesn't want to hear. And based on the success he's had at Florida and Ohio State, I'm sure he felt like, I just need people to execute my plan. And this is a mistake, and there's going to be growing pains over the next several months, and this kind of took us under the hood.
That's the part I was getting at I understand, Kimberley, your point that Urban doesn't get it. But how does no one else in the building see it and recognize that this is going to be a problem? Bart Scott, what is your reaction to the whole thing?
Well, listen, they tried to put the wool over our eyes. This is an example of the good old boys club, me taking care of one of my boys and saying, don't worry, you got let go from Iowa. And we're going to give you an opportunity. Nobody is going to pay attention to the sports performance czar, right? He's not even the head strength football coach, but they thought they can slip one in and nobody would pay attention. Don't worry, I'll slide you in here, then eventually I'll put you back to the head strength coach, but I got to get you in the organization first. Just be quiet. Don't say anything to mess it up. Urban Meyer had one job, not to make the Jacksonville Jaguars look like a circus, and he almost got away with it. You look at his coaching staff, otherwise it's a who's who. Right? He has tremendous coaching staff. He thought he can slip one in and take care of one of his boys. And the problem with Chris Doyle is he's dealing with a bunch of African Americans, over 70%, a lot more, I would think, than the makeup of the Iowa football team. And, you think about, if you talk about these sports performance czars and he's great, listen, if Iowa thought that he was the czar, they would have looked the other way. They couldn't look away, so how do you expect us to look the other way? And he was there for 20 years. And you look at the fact that Tom Shaw is right down the street. If you want a sports performance czar, somebody that all athletes go to, Tom Shaw's right there in Orlando. Call him up. I'm sure he'll take your money.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.